Okay, when you open Excel, you get a new workbook, it looks like this. I'm going to move kind of quickly with the understanding that you could pause and rewind if I go through something too quickly. You can always ask me questions if you have them as well. Okay, so this is a workbook. We have each one of these is called a cell, and you can put information into each one of these cells as necessary. So you notice up here, it tells you what cell you're in, which is C6. C being the column going across the top in letters, and 6 being the row going down on the left side with numbers. Okay, and you can type in things. Whoops, that's not where I meant to do that. You can type things in here, or you can click and just start typing. Okay, like so. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create just a quick kind of like inventory. Okay, so I'll make a part list here. So I'm going to put a heading. I just type in part, and then screws, nails, bolts, nuts, washers, that sort of a thing. And then I want to put in the quantity. So I type in quantity. Again, notice it's typing here as well as up here. Okay, you're typing in both places. Okay, and now I'm just going to put in numbers. And again, I can put the, oops, that's not a number. I can put the number like that. I can type it up here and do that. I can do that. No, I'm just put in different numbers. Okay, it doesn't matter what the numbers are. Now notice those are right justified. The screen over here, or the text, is left justified. This is basically Excel is recognizing, hey, these are numbers. I can do things with numbers, which is what makes Excel super powerful, is that you can do mathematical equations on them. Okay, so with that, let me add in something called unit price, so how much each one of these costs. So a screw 4 cents, nail 3 cents, bolts 6 cents, a nut is 3 cents, and washers are 2 cents or whatever. Okay, so let's talk about how we can format it. I'll go through some of the formatting. Let's start with the justified. You can always highlight all of these cells like this, and you can click like right here, which would be center justification. Make those centered. If you want them all left side, want them all right side. Okay. Now I can do it that way, or I could do, one at a time. I can highlight many of them if I want. I can highlight the whole thing by clicking that up there. Do it that way. Now everything that I type moving forward will be justified. The other thing you can do is you can increase the width by grabbing up here. There's lots of different ways you can increase the width, okay? But you can increase and decrease the width of things. You can also, and you'll see me do this a lot, you can do Autofit Column width, which will make the size exactly the size that you want it to be. Or you could come in here and you could do them all the same width you want, right? And it's hard to know what it would be. I could put in 50 or whatever. Again, I just typically use the auto fit column width, gets it nice and neat like that. Okay, the other thing you can do is you can play around with, bold. So I can make the top line bold. I could do it italic if I wanted to, right? I assume you know a lot about that stuff. I can change the size. Okay, and now that it's bigger, it doesn't fit, so I'm going to come back over here and do column width. I can change the font if I want to, switch it to that. Now, again, it doesn't fit, so you'll see me do this auto fit quite a bit like this. Okay, you can highlight it. If you don't like that color, you can highlight it any of these colors here. I could do a bright blue like that. You can change the color of the text. I don't know. Something like that. Okay. I guess the bottom line is you can just play around with lots of different things. You also, I can do borders, right? So I could put borders in like this. It'll draw the lines in there. Okay. If I want like a big line, I can highlight that top 3 ones and click, for example, a double border. So it's going to put a double line in there. You can play around with the borders in different ways. You can also, rather than clicking one of those, if you wanted to, you could come in and you could go more borders, and then it brings this up, right? So you could do the outline You can change that to kind of a thick black border if you wanted to. I mean, there's lots of different things. I'll let you play around with it as you wanted to, but you can put in borders just like that if you want to. Okay. Now the other thing, notice this box right here. When I click here, it's just general. When I click here, all these places it just says general. Okay. So what I can do is I could say, okay, well, I want this column. This is all text, so I can just make it text. Okay. All of these are just basically numbers, so I can make them numbers. Now notice it added decimal points. I don't really want the decimal points, so I can take them off here. I could add more if I wanted to right there. It's just up to you. You can play around with how many decimal points you have, playing with that. These guys, well, these are prices. So I could put them as currency and they'll throw in the dollar sign for me. Or I could make it accounting, which is the same thing. It just formats it a little different. Whatever you're comfortable with is fine with me. You can see there's percentages. I don't really have percentages here. I'm going to go with currency on this. Okay, so you can play around with that. Lots of different ways to format the table. Sometimes you can go in here and you can choose, specific formats. Let's see what happens here. I didn't like that. I'm just going to undo what I just did because that didn't work as well as I was hoping. So, but there is some stuff, play around with stuff with all this formatting and things of that nature, and hopefully you'll figure it out. And that's just a way to make it look pretty and that sort of thing as you go through. Okay, now the next thing is where Excel gets very important, and I want you to make sure you understand what you're doing with this. So now I'll type in total price. Okay. Hey, I'm not a big fan of that. I want it to look like the others. There's something called Format Painter where I can say, okay, I like the looks of this one. I could click this guy, Format Painter, click that, and then click on this box right here, and you see, oh, it'll make that look the same, which is pretty nice. Okay. Anyway, I would encourage you not to do formatting until you're done with the table, but I just wanted to show you how to do that right now. So, total price. Basically, I want to take this column and I want to take it times that column. Now, I could pull out a calculator and do it, but why not let Excel do it for me? I hit an equal sign. Equal sign tells Excel, hey, I'm going to do some math here. Okay? And I could type in 282 times 0.04. Okay? And I could get 1128. But then a new shipment comes in, and oh, we just got 200 more, so now I have 482 screws, and that price stays the same, so then I have to come over here and type it in. Not very useful. Okay? The better way to do this is, again, put that equal sign in there, and then actually click on the cell that you want, and do the multiplication sign, the asterisk, and take it times the price right there, and hit OK. And it'll do that math for you. Now let's say there's been inflation on screws and they're now 5 cents. I can come in here and type 0.05 and it'll automatically update the price. Very powerful. The other thing that's really powerful is something called Autofill, where I can do this. And basically what I'm saying is I want to do this for all of these values here. So rather than me coming down here and typing in the equation and everything, what I can do is I can autofill, which is this little guy right here in the lower corner. This guy, just click and grab and it'll pull it down, and there you have it. Okay, and if I go on this, you can always look and see what you've got here, and you can see, okay, sticking B4 times C4, which is again the quantity times the unit price in this. Okay, so again, we've got a bunch more nuts. We got 500 of them, so these go up to 623. You can see the total price is now changed. Okay, so there you have that. Now I'm going to create another column, and I'm going to call it tax. Okay, where tax is essentially, I would take this total price and I multiply it. Where I am in central Wisconsin, it's 5.5% sales tax. So 0.055. So I could do it that way. That would calculate the tax on that value. Another way I can do this is I can come down here and say, okay, tax, and I can say 5.5%, like that. Now notice what happened here is it automatically called it a percentage. Okay, so it knows it's a percent. So you'll remember over here I called it 0.055 because that's how percentages work. I can go over here and type 5.5% and do that. So instead of using 0.55, I can use this value here. That way, when the government changes the value, I can say, okay, well, it just changed to 6%. It automatically updates my tax for me, and I'm good to go. Or if I have going from a different, if I'm an international seller, countrywide seller, I can do different taxes for different locations. Okay, so now I'm going to do autofill, and I go down. These say 0. The reason they say 0 is when I filled down and grabbed this price, the 26.67, it also moved down and from the 6%. I want to lock that 6% in. So here's what I do. If I come up here, right, B8, I want it to always be B8. So what I do is I put $signs in front of each one, and that says lock column B, lock row 8. Don't move off of that cell. So now you'll see when I go down and I grab this guy, notice it's grabbing the 1869 just like it should, but then it locks in at that B8, grabbing that tax. That's what the $signs do. That locks that in. Okay. Now there's one more thing I want to show you. So let's just say cost, not coat, cost plus tax. Okay, so basically I'm going to add these two guys. So I could go this equals this plus this to get the total cost, or I could do something called a function, and we're going to talk much more about this next time, but I'm going to at least show you this one so you can see that it's there, where I can say, okay, I can sum, okay, and this is the bulk of what we're going to do. We're going to be teaching you different functions in Excel, but you can say sum, and then you do parentheses, and it's basically saying, hey, what do you want to sum? And you just grab the two numbers you want to sum. So I just highlighted them like that. Those two numbers, add them up, and hit enter. Okay, total cost, and I can scroll down, and it'll add those two together, give you the total cost plus the tax. Okay, and again, the powerful nature of this is, oops, I don't need this many bolts, I only need 213. Everything will update. It updated the total price, it updated the tax, the cost plus tax, linking it all together. You're going to be tempted. This is not just about making a pretty table. This is about using Excel to its fullest potential. Okay, creating links in there so you only have to update one thing. You're going to be tempted to pull your calculator out, type in a whole bunch of things, and just put the numbers in. That is wasting Excel's potential. Not to mention that the final project is using hourly wind data over the course of a year. What does that mean? Well, that means 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. That's whatever it is, 7,000 data points. You cannot do those by hand. You will need to use Excel to do this. So those are some basics. We're going to get much more into this as the course goes on, but this will at least get you started. You can do the first assignment and start using Excel and see how it goes.